evening. Good to have you with us here on The Last Word. The CBI drama 2.0 continues, voters. You would think that after Alok Verma got sacked yesterday, things would simmer down, but that was not to be. One of the things, though, which was expected was that the interim chief is going to come back and immediately cancel or withdraw all the orders that Alok Verma put out in those 48 hours. So Alok Verma came in as the reinstated CBI chief earlier this week and reversed all the orders that had been issued by Nageshwar Rao. And then Nageshwar Rao came back and reversed the decision to reverse all the orders. That's the kind of circus that is going on within India's premier investigative agency. Now, as things stand, Alok Verma has been ousted as the CBI chief. He says he will not work as DG Fire Services. His time is done. He should have retired 2 years ago. He will now retire. Alok Asthana's plea against the FIR and the investigation against him and the corruption charges against him have been dismissed by the High Court. So Rakesh Asthana also now faces an investigation. So we want to look ahead tonight and we want to ask some very basic questions. Firstly, is there irreparable damage that has been done to CBI? Is evidence doing by Alok Verma, and many more charges against him must be investigated. The special director Rakesh Asthana is under investigation, and the courts have refused to give him any relief. Is it now clearer that the men who were leading this agency were not clean? And if that is the case, is that irreparable damage to the agency? And my second question, and a more important question for now, is what happens to the cases that they were investigating? What happens to the Vijay Mallya case? What happens to the Nirav Modi case? What happens to the Haryana land acquisition case? Did somebody go scot-free in the IRCTC scam involving Lalu Prasad's family? Is the Moin Qureshi money laundering case now a lost cause? Crucial cases that were under investigation by these two men at some or the other point. And thirdly, the charges of corruption haven't fully been proven yet. Who will investigate them? Can the CBI really investigate its own two bosses? We seek answers to these questions tonight. Let's say good evening to our panelists. K. Raghotaman, former CBI officer, joins us this evening. Always a pleasure to have him. Pallavi Sharma, spokesperson for the Congress Party. Mr. Karthikeyan, good to have you again. Former CBI director. Shaikhat Datta, South Asia editor for Asia Times. And Anila Singh, spokesperson for the BJP. Let me begin with Mr. Raghotaman first. Mr. Raghotaman, who should investigate these two officers? The charges are serious. In Alok Verma's case, CVC has done a prelim investigation, found merit for further investigation, found merit in certain charges. But can we trust the CBI to do this investigation?
Yeah. You are very, very correct. And you have brought it out in a very crisp and sharp manner. Who is to investigate the cases against Asthana and who is to investigate allegations which has been leveled against Alok Verma? Now, the practice in the Indian criminal investigation is form, yes, SIT, Special Investigation Cell or team, whatever you may call it. So, Special Investigation Team, whether it should be under the supervision of the CBI or under the supervision of the CVC or directly under the supervision of the Supreme Court of India or under the supervision of the Delhi High Court, that has to be decided. Now, there is no decision on that. I welcome the Delhi High Court judgment that they have not given the relief to Asthana because there is some suspicion as found against Mr. Alok Verma. So both of them cannot continue in the respective position. That is very correct and absolutely I don't have any these things. But one thing I want to make it clear, the resignation which has been put up by Alok Verma, If he had done just a day before, it would have made him as a hero of the case. Now he has become the accused. There is no doubt about it. He has succumbed to the accused and he has become the accused. And the government is not going to leave him. And the allegations are that is beyond, prima facie case can be registered. There is absolutely not. But what is intriguing is, in the resignation letter of the Verma ji,
Yes.
is that Justice Patnaik has disowned the findings of the CBC.
Yes.
If Justice Patnaik has disowned the findings of the CBC, then where is the question of allegation against Alok Verma? Then why did the panel committee did not look into the observation of the Justice Patnaik or the Supreme Court judge who represented on behalf of the Chief Justice of India? That should have been the main criteria. No doubt, Mr. Alok Verma has taken the law into his own hand, and in spite of the cases of transfers are pending in the High Court and Supreme Court, he did the very wrong thing by bringing back these officers. Does it mean that he is bringing the reputation back to the CBI? No, he has done the damage.
Yes.
He has done further damage and he has to face for it. And there is no question of transfer. The panel is very wrong, allowing him to continue as a director, fire service and all this. No, he is retired on 30th after
Yes.
soon attaining the age of. This tenure is only for CBI. As a director CBI, kindly note, as per the CBC Act and DSP Act, the tenure is only for CBI.
Right.
He can continue as a director CBI. When he
You-
is
you have-
terminated, where is the question of giving him appointment of a director fire service?
Mr.
Where is
Nageshwar,
it?
you've raised a
Why does
very
that question
important
arises?
point.
You see,
Yes, you've raised a very important point, which
Yes.
is what was quoted in this letter. And for the benefit of our viewers, here is the, I'm going to read out from the letter that Alok Verma wrote when he said, I'm not going to take up that new transfer job. My time here is done, and I consider this as my last day before retirement. In that letter, he also made serious, he also slammed the CVZ and the government, said that there's been grave injustice that has been done to him. And then he said, the selection committee has not provided the undersigned an opportunity to explain the details. That natural justice was scuttled, that the selection committee did not consider the fact that the entire Eve report, CVC report, is premised on charges which are alluded by a complainant who is facing investigation by the CBI, by which he means Rakesh Asthana. And then he goes on to say, Mr. Karthikeyan, please note this. He says, CVC only forwarded a purportedly signed statement of the complainant, and the complainant never came before Honorable Justice retired A.K. Patnaik, who was the one who was supervising the CVC probe. Justice Patnaik has concluded that the findings and conclusions of the report are not his. Now, if this is true, Mr. Karthikeyan, this is also significant, where Alok Verma is alleging that Justice Patnaik, whose job it was to monitor this probe, hasn't given his approval to the findings of this probe. Mr. Karthikeyan, do you think that's a significant revelation that has come out and must be looked into?
Please repeat, because it is not audible.
Mr. Karthikeyan, in Alok Verma's
It's
letter
not
today,
audible. Breaking.
in Alok,
please-
Alok Verma's letter today to the DOPT, he says that the CVC inquiry report have Justice Patnaik, who was monitoring this inquiry, has said that the findings and conclusions of the report are not his. This is his claim, that Justice Patnaik, who was monitoring the CVC probe, has distanced himself from the findings of the probe. Isn't that a significant claim to make? Who should look into that?
Well, it has to be looked into by the committee which appoints or removes the director CBI, or he may go to the Supreme Court seeking justice separately.
Okay, and the other question that I'm asking our experts tonight, Mr. Karthikeyan, is who should investigate Alok Verma and Rakesh Asthana now? Is the CBI really up to this job? If the CBI now investigates, how do I know which man from which camp is going to be given charge of this and whether he will do an honest job?
Well, these are all areas of speculation. I don't think you and I can decide these things.
But who do you think would be the right agency to probe?
Perhaps the director to be appointed. The director to be appointed.
Right.
The new director, who will be appointed shortly, can certainly be entrusted with the investigation. That's the way it happens. Or again, it may be by a special investigation team to be monitored by the highest court in the land.
Okay, let me bring in our political guests also at this point of time. Anila Singh, good evening to you. The fact of the matter is that there is a very clear process which is put in place, a detailed vetting process and selection process to bring in the top people within this agency, to lead this agency. Now, do you think that you need to relook at that process? Because your government picked Alok Verma, your government picked Rakesh Asthana and put him there. Two top men who are running the agency right now are currently facing serious allegations, and the court has found no merit in dismissing these allegations. They're saying continue the investigation against Asthana. So something is seriously wrong with the way the government is picking these people to run the place.
See, Tanvi, you cannot say that this is the fault of government, that the government has picked up the wrong officers.
Right.
See, they all had been officers. They all had been officers from the police services, and they had been good enough officers. But down the line, if some mistakes has been done, I don't know whether they have done it or not. I'm not sure about it, because until or unless full probe reports comes out, it won't be intelligent enough to comment anything. But it is the fact that the two top officials of the CBI, they were fighting with each other, and which was giving a very bad image of CBI, which is not good for the people living in our country, because they have got ultimate faith in CBI. So whatever the decision was made by the government, when it asked both the officers to proceed on the leave, even that was correct. And like Supreme Court, they said that Alok Verma should be reinstated, and he should continue. He should be reinstated. Then and the procedure of sending the officer was not correct. So now the high-level committee, they sat together, and like they have got this power that they can transfer CBI director. So they did. So if we talk about the role of the government, then the role of the government has been very positive, very correct. Positive in the sense that as the government, it is the responsibility. The image of the CBI should not be tarnished.
But you will agree, of course, Anila Singh.
Officials, senior-most officials.
I agree, and all of that is now behind us, Anila Singh. I'm not questioning what the committee did or didn't do. My question to you is, the fact is that the charges against both of them are very, very serious. The fact is that another CBI officer, Mr. Bassi, who also went to the court in an affidavit along with claims that he has the evidence to back this affidavit, said that there are call records that suggest that Rakesh Asthana was fixing cases. And he goes on to give details of those call records. In the case of Alok Verma, the CVC probe itself has said that in many cases the conduct is suspicious. That in the Moin Qureshi case, CVC found Alok Verma's conduct suspicious, and that there is a case prima facie against him. In the IRCTC scam, where they say that Alok Verma had intentionally kept out certain accused, CVC found Verma guilty in this case. So I can go on and on. The fact of the matter is there is enough evidence to seriously look at these two cases. You can't let them go scot-free. The government cannot say, my job is done, We held a panel meeting, we threw them out, and that's that. How will you set an example here? Who will investigate this case?
Do you really think so, Tanvi, that government, any government, say Bharatiya Janata Party government or any other government, they are going to let such officials go who are facing such heinous such heinous accusations? So the investigation is on, and today also we have seen that what verdict High Court has given for Mr. Asthana, and we very well know that what CVC has said about Mr. Verma. So investigations are on, and I'm pretty sure that whatever the conclusion will come out from these investigations, both the officers they have to face that.
Well,
So,
Anila
and,
Singh says
definitely it will be an
investigations are on,
exemplary
but Pallavi
punishment,
Sharma,
to the
what kind of
officers if they are
CBI
proved
system we are
guilty.
looking at, that where in the last 1.5 months, transfers have taken place at 3 different times. There were transfers done, those transfers were reversed, and then the reversal was reversed again, and people have been shunted from one place to other like a ridiculous circus. In such a setup, who is going to investigate? Shouldn't the government already have an answer to this question, Pallavi?
Good evening, Tanvi. Good evening to all the panelists. I was just listening to Ms. Anila Singh, and I understand how difficult it is for her to defend the government today when CBI has become nothing more than a yo-yo and a ping-pong ball now. You see, transfer orders were made, transfer orders were cancelled, then again again transfer orders were made, today again they have been withdrawn. What is happening? For God's sake, we are talking about the premier investigating agency of this country. What has this government turned it into? It is shameful, it's pathetic, and most of all, I think it's a very sorry state of affairs. This government seems to steamroll and bulldoze every possible law of the land. Earlier, the Supreme Court stamped this, what I'm saying now. They bypassed the select committee. The Supreme Court said, nothing doing, you violated the law, go back to the select committee. When the select committee sits, they violate the elementary principles of natural justice. It was tough for the Prime Minister to even abide by the elementary principles of natural justice. The Congress party stands vindicated today. We stand vindicated today on the ground that the Prime Minister and the BJP had developed a certain aberration to Mr. Alok Verma for whatever reasons it may be. Our stand is because, yes, he was looking into the Rafale probe. He was going to investigate Rafale. And that is why this tearing rush, the Prime Minister just wanted to get done away with Mr. Alok Verma.
Yes.
Hence, in 48 hours of the Supreme Court order, he was removed. Now, Tanvi, I have just two important questions. One, you say Alok Verma is a corrupt man. There are corruption charges, CVC, merely based on CVC allegations, you say there are corruption charges against him. He's a corrupt man. Then why not suspend him? Why appoint him as DG of another, appoint him as Director General of Fire Services?
Okay, before
Why not
Anila,
just remove him? If he's a corrupt man and
before Anila Singh responds to your question,
why not remove
Then
him?
we can
one minute, Anila. Yes, you can, but 1 minute. Let me ask that question to Mr. Raghuttaman as a procedure, Mr. Raghuttaman, because many, even around me, raise this question to say, well, if he is accused of corruption, how can you give him another charge? But is that the procedure? Pending inquiry, you're just shunted out, you've sent to another location. What is the procedure in such cases?
Yeah. It's a very, very relevant question which you have asked. If an allegation is made against a public servant, let it be a director of CBI or any other third grade officer of a public servant. If an allegation is made and the FIR has been registered, kindly note my word, if an FIR, first information report, has been registered under section 154 of CBI, CRPC, then that officer has to be suspended. That is the procedure.
Yes.
Just because somebody has complained, some inquiry has taken place, and on that point alone, if a man has to be sent out, it is injustice.
Yes.
It is against the principles of natural justice. This is the procedure. This is the laid out procedure. Just because one complaint is coming against Prime Minister of India, Can he be sent out immediately? He is also a public servant. Can he be? It has to be inquired into. A process of law has to be initiated, and then only he has to be suspended or removed or whatever things is.
Okay.
He
Okay.
has to
So
be
that
suspended.
that's a procedure,
But in this
Pallavi.
case,
Yes.
where a tenure appointment is made,
Yes. So they have moved him out because the tenure ended on 31st Jan, but they moved him
Tanvi,
out of that post. But Anila Singh, if you want to add to the procedure angle, you can. And then I will go across to Shaikat because he's been waiting patiently and we've not gone to him yet. Anila Singh, 30 seconds to you.
Tanvi, can I
Tanvi,
respond
I am
for
not
10
going to
quick
comment
seconds,
or I
please?
am not going to add anything what Mr. Raghutaman has said because he very well knows that what is the procedure regarding
Tanvi, can I get
government
your 30 seconds,
officials.
please?
But I need to say one thing because I'm a political representative on your panel, and just now Ms. Sharma from Congress Party, like she commented that Bharatiya Janata Party has some sort of aversion towards Alok Verma. That is why immediately, like after a day, he has been shunted or he has been transferred into some other department. So let me tell you, Pallavi Sharma, that the government asked both the officials to proceed on leave. They did not ask one officer to proceed on leave. So we are not here to do any sort of partiality. We are here to prove that CBI is an autonomous body which works independently, and if any of the officials, if they are being accused of charges, they have to face the inquiry and investigation, and they will be punished accordingly, and if they are not proven guilty, then they will be pardoned. And let me tell you one thing, at least Congress should understand this thing, that please do not politicize the department like CBI. We very well know that a year before, Mr. Kharge,
Well, I don't think
when
Anila
Mr.
Singh,
Verma
and this
was
is to
appointed
Anila
as
Singh and to
CBI
Pallavi
director,
Sharma.
he had a
I
whole
don't
lot
think
of
either of
problems.
you
Now today he
have
is
any
very
moral
BJP
ground.
has any moral ground
I don't think
today to
either
say
of you
that.
have any moral grounds to really point fingers at the other party when
I
it
don't
comes to
think BJP has any moral
politicization
ground
and
today to say
interference
that.
within the CBI. So please, let's not even go down that road. Saikat Datta is with us. Good to have you, Saikat. Let's begin with how you see the developments and whether you think an irreparable damage has been done to the CBI's image, or are we already at a point where nothing more shocks us?
The damage that has been done to the CBI, I don't think the CBI will ever be able to recover from this. Let's just dial back for a little bit and just go through what's happened really here. You have some allegations against Mr. Verma, some allegations against Mr. Asthana, but what we are forgetting right now is that another senior police officer who works in India's external intelligence agency is also mentioned in one of the FIR.
Yes.
Now, as Ms. Singh, who is the spokesperson of the BJP, is saying that if there are serious allegations against any officer, then they should immediately be suspended and set aside, then that you're using that provision against Mr. Verma, but you're not using that provision against somebody who's also been named from an external
That's a
intelligence
very
agency of
dangerous
India.
precedent.
So why do you have these very strange circumstances where you decide to take immediate action against Mr. Verma ostensibly on the grounds that his continuing would be very, very damaging for the CBI, but a very senior person is sitting in India's very important and sensitive external intelligence agency, and not a word has been spoken of in the government about that particular case. The other major contradiction, today the Delhi High Court has refused to quash the case against Mr. Asthana. But in October 2017, the same kind of allegations had been made to the CBC. At that time, CBC immediately dismissed the allegations against Mr. Asthana and agreed to promote him. But the same CBC's words and allegations against Mr. Verma is now taken as the last word on the issue. And the third point that I want to quickly make is Indian jurisprudence depends on the very basic doctrine that a man is innocent until proven guilty. In the case of Mr. Verma, everybody is hell-bent on proving him guilty without any evidence, and whatever they could come out is very flimsy circumstantial evidence, but far more damaging evidence exists in the case of Mr. Verma, in the case of Mr. Asthana,
Yes.
as well as the officer named from the external intelligence agency. And in both cases, the government is completely silent. And as Mr. Raghunathan just now said, that if there are serious cases like an FIR against a serving officer, that person should be suspended. Mr. Asthana was never suspended. So what is the government really trying to prove here?
That's a fair point. Anila Singh, would you want to respond to that? How you're picking and choosing even where you want to react and you don't want to react. In fact, the government waited for the longest time for this to blow up in their faces. They could have actually put a lid on it a long time ago.
See, I do not have expertise. I do not have expertise on such matter that what should be the way of proceedings. So, like we have two ex-officers on your panel. They are the right people who can tell you. But I know that the government has whatever the step the government has taken, it took so that the image of the CBI should not be tarnished in the eyes of the people of our country, which opposition tried level best to accuse the government and using the CBI for their own political gain. Tanvi, I can only say that though I do not know the history of the CBI, but to the best of my knowledge, today is Lal Bahadur Shastri ji's birthday, and he was the one who had a very major role starting this organization. So definitely something happened which shouldn't have happened in an organization like CBI. But at the same time, I think government, the DOPT department and the department of the CBI.
Well, you know, the government would do well, Anila Singh, I think the government would do well by firstly admitting that the two people that you handpicked and put them at the helm of this agency, despite there being opposition to both of them, both their appointments were considered controversial, and you still went ahead with them, and now both of them have created this mess for you. I think the government would do well to at least acknowledge that you too had a certain role to play, rather than just acting as somebody who didn't know what was going on and just stepped in because you didn't want the CBI's image to be dented. But let me go across to to Pallavi Sharma actually, because she wanted to make a couple of points, and then I have a few questions for our experts. Pallavi?
Can we just two quick points? One point I wanted to make regarding, they were the government appointees which you already cleared, and now the government is in a rush to do away with Mr. Alok Verma himself. The other point, I totally agree with what my learned friend was saying. What is sauce for the goose should be sauce for the gander as well. You see, in 4.5 years, this government has set several dangerous precedents. But what it has done today has parred all of them. You have removed the head of a statutory body on mere allegations. And allegations leveled by whom? A man whom is investigating himself. This is a completely dangerous precedent, Tanvi, and if people are to be removed on merely allegations, then let's not forget, I want to ask this to the dear Prime Minister, that dear Prime Minister, there were several allegations against you when you were the Chief Minister of Gujarat. Were you removed or did you have the courage?
Pallavi, you very well know that this is not a political debate. So I would ask you.
What she's talking about.
Yes, no, Pallavi, you very well know this is not a political debate.
One is a political
Please refrain from making these political rhetorical comments. I really do not appreciate political rhetorical comments.
It's not political.
It is when you have legal evidence in the Rafale deal or for 2002. No. If you have a point to make regarding what has happened with facts, please present this.
It's not rhetoric.
How is it not rhetoric?
It's plain.
It is the prerogative of select.
Has removed the head of a
select
statutory
committee
body
whether to
based on mere
transfer
allegations.
the officer or whether to
1 minute. I can't hear either of you two ladies. What is this ridiculous argument which is going on over here?
What you are talking about?
Please, can I just ask both the ladies to just take a deep breath?
I mean, Pallavi Sharma, you should
Anila
have
Singh,
some sense.
Anila Singh.
Saying that you are
No,
comparing.
I am going to just go across to Mr. Raghotaman, and if the two ladies do want to listen to what I have to say, here is it. I don't think either of the two parties should be really lecturing the other one. If this government decided to oust Alok Verma or send him packing. The previous government didn't do anything despite the serious allegations against Ranjit Sinha or the one who preceded him, which is AP Singh. No, so one is accused of maybe being biased, the other one of inaction. So let's not even go down that entire
To reach an extent where a democratic institution was destroyed completely. I'm sorry, Tanvi, I
which
disagree with you
democratic
to that.
institution are you talking
Our
about?
party-
CBI, the one which was called a cage parrot
Which
during your
democratic
tenure?
institution you're talking about,
At
Pallavi
least under the
Sharma?
Congress governance, democratic institutions were not
You don't
destroyed
even
like
know
this.
that
They were
Prime
simply-
Minister doesn't have a
Supreme Court
single
judges coming out
accusation
Okay,
with
on
Mr.
him. and you
Raghuttaman,
are
Mr.
saying that
Raghuttaman,
Prime
I don't want to get into this. I don't want to get into this. I think the viewers are smart enough to know which political party has damaged which of our institutions to what extent. Mr. Raghuttaman, here is my other question, and which is that Alok Verma investigated the Aircel Maxis case. Alok Verma investigated the INX media corruption case. Alok Verma was part of the investigating team that looked into a case that was filed by a complaint filed by BJP MP Subramaniam Swamy. He has looked into a Delhi-based middleman who was raided and cash was found, and then they said that this was a middleman who was connected to a lot of high-end politically connected businessmen who were trying to get their cases fixed. Here is Asthana's record: Augusta Westland VVIP chopper scam, Vijay Mallya loan scam, Moin Qureshi case, coal scam, Robert Vadra scam. What happens to these cases now, Mr. Raghuttaman?
Yeah. Yes. This is. Let us talk about this subject. Let not be made a CBI as an NDA representative or UPA representative. Let us not drag the CBI into politics. Let us not politicize it. Now let us talk about it. You have raised a very good question. Very good question. Whether the justice has to be done by the CBI in respect of the two officers who has done wrong or right, that has to be inquired into. And if it has to be inquired into, it should be by an investigating agency. Let it be a SIT or let it be any other judicial body appointed by the individual officers also. There are precedent where retired officers or where expert have been appointed as supervising the SIT cases. Now, the question which you have raised is, who is going to investigate these two cases? That's the first question you raised. I have answered to you. It's only by SIT, supervised by the judicial authority, and not by the government or by the CVC. You make it. In this case, the culprit is the CVC. The culprit is the CVC. Mr. Alok Verma was divested of his power on the basis of the letter written by the CVC to the government of India, and the midnight operation took place. And they are siding with Asthana. And till now, the government has not taken any action. That panel is not required, the Prime Minister or the Chief Justice representative, or the for removal of Asthana, or suspended. He can be done it by the departmental themselves, and it has to be done with the consent of the CVC.
Okay.
They should have done it.
Okay.
If they have done that, I would say the government is fair and the government is doing justice to the bring out to save the reputation of the CBI. When the two officers are, as the Advocate General himself, the Attorney General has made a submission that the cat fight is going on.
Yes.
The cat fight has to be settled down by the government. It is not the Supreme Court or anybody else.
So that is, yes,
When
Mr.
administrative
Raghuttaman.
problems arises, there is no question of judicial intervention.
Yes, but there is a larger problem here. It's not just now about the cases against these two men, which must be investigated. It is about the validity and of the investigations that these two men led. Now, aren't we staring at a situation, Mr. Raghuttaman, where tomorrow Vijay Mallya's lawyers can turn around and say, this man himself is facing corruption allegation. How can the judge take his investigation seriously at all? How can we take investigation in any of these cases seriously?
Exactly. This I didn't answer your question. This you raised it in the earlier point. You see, when a man is investigating, he should be above board, and he should be all. He should not be come under any suspicion or any doubt about it. If a director or a number two is accused of accusation of bribery, where is the question of other accused being held up or hauled up? They will certainly make a representation in the court that I have been vindicated by these corrupt officers and they are doing it against the government principles and against the law of the land. They themselves are violating it. And what is the credence of the investigation which the court has to believe? This every accused will take the plea. They have opened the door for all the accused person to come out with such kind of defense.
Right.
And as you see, many government, anti-BJP government has withdrawn the consent of the CBI.
Okay,
That you should note it. That is the reaction by the anti-BJP government.
yes, let me tell, I understand what you're saying, Mr. Raghutuman. Let me take that question also across to Circus. This is also on an international level a problem for us because we're building these cases to bring people like Nirav Modi back to our country.
Yes.
And the Nirav Modi is also a case that was investigated by these men, by this agency. Isn't there a larger question mark on the crucial investigations that have happened then?
Yes. Yes. As
That
far as this.
Yes, let me just take that question, sir, to Saikat Datta. Saikat, that question was to you, if you can hear me.
No. Yeah, no. What the Saudi government has done it cannot be done by the European government. They will not do it. And I am of very, very, very strong opinion, and I have come across very investigated in many cases. We have not able to get one accused extradited from the government of UK or
Yes.
from USA or from Europe. This is the practice. Nobody has been repatriated. Nobody has been extradited.
Okay, I don't want to.
And
I
this
get
will have
your
the
point,
impact on
Mr.
them.
Raghutuman. Sorry, I'm
Definitely.
interrupting here, but I'm running out of
Definitely.
time. But I wanted to go across to Saikat Datta, but that's exactly the point that I'm trying to make. Now, I am not saying Alok Verma is corrupt for sure or Rakesh Asthana is corrupt for sure.
Yes.
But there is some evidence of wrongdoing.
Yes.
There is a lot of suspicion about their activities
Correct.
that need
Correct.
investigation. The fact of the matter is, perhaps is this the reason we've not been able to build cases which were strong enough to bring back people like Vijay Mallya or Nirav Modi or even earlier Lalit Modi? Saikat Datta, the question's to you.
Yes.
See, the CBI is the designated agency to deal with the Interpol. And every time there is a case of extradition, it's basically the director of prosecution who deputes somebody and the CBI investigating officer who is deputed to go and argue those cases for an extradition. Today, if, for example, if we are trying to extradite somebody from the United Kingdom and the Crown Prosecution Services is helping us with it, what kind of a credibility do we have left after this mess? Because every defense lawyer of anybody who's an absconding from Indian justice, they'll just turn around and say, look at the mess that the Central Bureau of Investigation is. How do you trust this organization? What is the sanctity of this organization? And this is why I'm saying I'm constantly, let's look back at the whole case and see not only is India's credibility as a credible investigating anti-corruption agency completely undermined by this case, Indian security interests are also undermined because you have somebody from the research and analysis wing who has also been named in this case, and yet the government does nothing about it. This problem, especially if you look at the Gujarat case in which Mr. Asthana has been accused, the Gujarat case where Mr. Sandaras managed to escape Indian law, you have that person and those cases was brought in front of the Central Vigilance Commission. The CVC just dismissed those cases and still promoted Mr. Asthana. Today, all these cases, when we try to extradite, say, the same Mr. Sandaras or Nirav Modi, etc., everybody across the world will be looking at the tarnished reputation of the CBI, and it has very little credibility left to successfully prosecute those cases.
That's my fear. That's exactly my fear. So many big scams, so many crucial cases now face a question mark because we could not clean up the rot, because political parties for years now, not just in the last 4 years, have allowed this rot to fester within the agency, have actually misused and abused this agency only for their political benefits and nothing else. and then refuse to take responsibility for the damage that has been done. Out of time, but Anila Singh, last 30 seconds to you to respond, and then we wrap this.
Okay, Tanvi, I just want to say one thing here. I was listening very patiently what Mr. Datta was saying about the CBI. Mr. Datta, I can only say this thing to you, that because of two officials who had grudges against each other, you cannot put whole of the CBI under the umbrella of the accusations and saying that the CBI is a bad organization. Let me remind you one thing here, Mr. Datta. In the past also, two of the army outgoing and the coming army chiefs, they had some problems with each other. Those were sorted out, and in today's date, we very well know that with great pride and prestige, we hold Indian Army in our eyes.
Okay,
so
Anila
please,
Singh, but
please do not do this thing.
Okay. Anila Singh, I don't think it's comparable for the plain, simple reason.
At all. Do not shake the faith of the people in CBI like this.
Yeah, I don't think the faith is going to be shaken because Aikat Datta or Tanvi Shukla said. The fact of the matter is, Anila Singh, that these two were investigating very crucial cases. The fact of the matter is that Vijay Mallya's lookout circular was downgraded for no clear reason, and that is how he got out of the country. And the CBI and the government till date have not been able to give us a convincing answer of who did it and why did they do it without any reason. We allowed him to escape. So yes, questions will be raised because these are people who have looted our country and run away. There are people living in our country who've looted us, and in no case are you able to present evidence that will convince the court when the investigating officer himself is under investigation. That's as plain and simple as it is. One can only hope that this becomes a learning lesson, that we bring about maybe some more checks and balances in the way we start choosing men who lead these agencies, and then downward there is some kind of cleanup that happens. Keep it in mind, the selection procedure is not a one-man's decision. But the fact of the matter is that despite questions being raised, the government did go ahead and install both of these people at the head of the agency. The fact of the matter is, even during UP era's time, there were two CBI chiefs who are still under investigation with very, very serious allegations of favoring people who were accused of grave crimes. The cleanup must begin now, and we expect the government to give us a roadmap now, even as they investigate Alok Verma and Rakesh Asthana. And yes, someone must take notice of this claim that has been made by Alok Verma, where he says that Justice Patnaik said, and he distanced himself from the findings of the CVC inquiry. What does that mean? He was monitoring that probe. Was he not convinced with what the CVC had found? Is that claim real by Alok Verma? That must be looked into. Thank you so much for joining us on this debate. Thank you to all our panelists.